I'm very honored and happy to be back here. I'm so glad that I was invited to this and I'm getting to share this experience with everybody here. For today's panel, I'm going to introduce you to two very inspiring women. And I've spent some time with them over the last 2 days, and I've learned so much. They're so culturally aware, and they have so much knowledge that it's inspiring to me and very motivational. So first up, we have Jessica Utomo. She's an international student from Jakarta, Indonesia. She graduated from Curtin University, Singapore in 2013 with a Bachelor's of Commerce in Accounting and Finance with distinction. She was awarded the Dean's Top Student Award in School of Accounting across all Curtin campuses. After graduation, Jessica joined the KPMG Singapore Management Consulting Department and worked there for 5 years. Jessica has worked with many multinational clients, leading external IT audit engagements for financial services-related clients. In 2017, she qualified as a Certified Information Systems Auditor and was appointed as KPMG Brand Ambassador for the Tri-University Recruitment Fair to share her insights into work experience opportunities at KPMG. In addition, during her time at KPMG Singapore, she was appointed to the role of lead organizer in the corporate social responsibility team, where she successfully spearheaded the company's CSR campaign and organized events across Singapore and across Southeast Asian countries to promote social welfare initiatives to underprivileged communities. In October 2018, Jessica relocated back to Jakarta to assume the role of Assistant General Manager at Extralindo, a PVC pipe manufacturing company in Indonesia, which is owned by her family. Please welcome Jessica Utomo to the panel. Next, we have Nneoma. She's an international student from Nigeria who has 3 brothers and is the only daughter of Dr. Joy and Dr. Maxwell Ugwu. Nneoma was the best graduating student from University of Massachusetts, Dartmouth in May 2019, earning the highest GPA of 3.96 out of 4. Her commencement speech, "A Lion's Child Does Not Eat Grass," has over 1 million views on LinkedIn and YouTube. During her commencement speech, she received a standing ovation from her peers, which was the second ever standing ovation in the history of the institution. In her speech, she said, "Likewise in Nigeria, as it is in America, I knew that being a Black female engineer meant being in the minority." She was the only Black female to graduate with a civil engineering degree in the class of 2019. Outside the classroom, Nneoma has conducted research with the National Science Foundation and volunteered in Panama with Engineers Without Borders on an Educate project, which provided water to over 300 locals. She's a very active student leader, serving as Vice President of the Engineers Without Borders, Vice President of the African Students Association, and as a Senator for the National Society of Black Engineers. Nneoma is currently pursuing a doctoral degree at the University of Maryland, focusing her research on emerging transportation policies relating to electronic vehicles. Her dream is to eventually return home to Nigeria to improve her country's roads and infrastructure. Please welcome to the panel, Ms. Nneoma Ugwu. I'd just like to emphasize the theme for today, that is global citizens and empowerment in the digital age. And we, as 3 global citizens here, are very excited to share with you our experiences and our journey to becoming global citizens. First of all, I would like to start with Jessica on your views of what you think it is to be a global citizen.
All right. First of all, thank you everyone for having all of us here in this panel. Okay, based on my experience, right, I think being a global citizen means that we need to be able to see the world in a bigger perspective. Because I believe we live in this world not alone, but we live with other people. And I believe it's not only about yourself, but it's about every one of us. So I believe all of us have the same human rights. We also have the same human basic needs. And we need to be able to work together, not only with people from our own countries, but we need to be able to work with other people, with all other nationalities. And I believe if we work on together, we can make the world a better place. Thank you.
First of all, thank you all for having me here. It's been a great pleasure and it's been wonderful getting to know you guys. To me, a global citizen is really someone who identifies, first of all, as a member of the human race and of humanity, even before they identify with their country or their different ethnicities. You know, as a global citizen, you have this sense of belonging to the world community. You embrace the different diversities. You make yourself aware of global issues because they need global solutions. And who better to provide that than global citizens who are ready to stand up for humanity, right? So I believe that in order to truly understand global citizenship, as an engineer, I like to look at the different particles and then see them as a whole, right? So we have global, and then you have citizenship. So the globe is the world, right? All of us in it, regardless of where you were born, where you live now, whatever your status might be. And on the other hand, you have citizenship, which by definition means that we're entitled to certain rights, certain privileges, and certain protections by our state. Also, we owe an allegiance to our state. Now, when you combine those two together, you begin to understand that everyone in this world, regardless of whether you know their name or not, whoever they may be, whatever their social status, rich, poor, it doesn't matter, but they have rights. They have human rights, and it is our responsibility to protect that and to empower them. Think of it as a spaceship, okay? And in this spaceship, there are no passengers, but all of us are members of the crew. That, to me, is the global world that we are in today. Your international students that you have, they've already begun this journey, right? We leave the comfort of our family and our home and what we're used to, and then we come to Malaysia, we come to the US, we go to places that we've never thought about before. And we begin to experience these cultures, this development of ourselves. Everyone's trying to grow themselves. Everyone's trying to understand different people's cultures. And then we bring it together and we make ourselves one great globe, right? I'm sure the same way your international students need you, you also need them, right? All of you here would like some more international students, am I right? So what I'm trying to say is that we're all interdependent. You need me, I need you. And so we need to support each other because if we're going to answer the global solutions, they are greater than me and they may be greater than you, but they're not greater than all of us combined together.
I think what you said was just beautiful, especially how you define global citizens. And when I first got to know that the theme of this conference is global citizens and empowerment in digital age, I had my own thought and my definition, but I went around and asked all my international friends. I said, what does it mean for you to be a global citizen? I asked my roommate who's from Brazil. I was like, how would you define it? Do you think you're a global citizen? And it was mesmerizing to me how they all defined it differently and had different perspectives. But despite that, we all shared the same core and the same message. And one thing that really caught my attention was everybody talked about awareness and acceptance. And I think that's not something that we're taught initially, It's always about expectation. And I think if I look back at my own journey personally, when I first came to Canada, and it was very different for me because India, the education system was really different. I was in a cocoon, protected by my parents and everybody. So I think it was just very inspiring for me that when I look back at 4 years from, the last 4 years, and I see how much awareness I have gotten and how much more accepting I am of different cultures and, different backgrounds. Because it's just amazing to me how much I myself have evolved and my friends around me have evolved. And I think education plays a big part in that awareness and fostering that awareness because I think it's the education system and it's what I went through, the whole process that actually got me where I am today. And it's very empowering to me to look at you guys and all my other friends who went through this journey and have just they've changed and it's for the better. And I think that's what we all need. And I think that's what Navitas is trying to do with all the international students. Because I think it's no more about assimilation. It's about accepting that we're all different and that itself is beautiful. So I just want you guys to share your own journeys of how you think you evolved into the global citizens that you are today. Nneoma, would you like to?
Yeah, I'll say I've definitely evolved a lot coming from a third world country where there's a lot of myopic and archaic views, and they don't have this sort of development and exposure that majority of us have today. You know, we still have a lot of backward mentality where I come from, and jumping into, you know, America and all of this expectations, there was definitely a lot of culture shock, a lot of transitions, things that are still criminal offenses in my country are being advocated for in America. So for me, it was definitely a steep transition, but then again, this is all about global citizenship, right? We're trying to understand different people's cultures and understand that everyone, like we've been talking about, they have their rights. So it's been a steep transition, but then using my resources and taking advantage of every opportunity that I got to learn, to communicate with people, you know, to talk to my Indian colleagues or talk to my Asian students and reach out to people and just start this conversation, right? That's what we're doing. We're kicking the ball in motion. We're telling people, you know, having this conversation, and then through our voices, we can be heard, you know. Through our voices, we can share and let each other know sort of what is going on. Like you said, you talk to your roommates, and then that conversation sparked something in you. And that's sort of what we're trying to do with global citizenship. It's a movement, and we're trying to spark something in the whole world that's going to develop it eventually. Do you want to share some of?
Yeah, I think I do agree with Nneoma's point of view of like on sharing about her experience. Yeah, I would like to share about my experience as well in Singapore. I spent my 7 years of my life in Singapore. So I used to stay in Indonesia, and I'm kind of like a lady who always just like to stay at home. So I never believed that I would sit here today to speak with in front of a lot of speakers and a lot of audiences. So it's really a new, it's really amazing, I think. So when I came to Singapore, I think the first in mind that I need to tell myself, I need to get to be open-minded and be confident, because you are far away from home, and then you need to be able to blend with other culture, other ethnicities. As you guys know, right, in Singapore there are so many ethnicities. We have Malay, we have Chinese, and we do have Indians, and a lot of other people from other nationalities, like from Western countries. They all came to Singapore to start their new career path. And I think I'm really grateful that I have been given this opportunity to be able to work with them. So when you get to know other people from other nationalities, you get the opportunities to learn their cultures and to hone your language skills. Because in Indonesia, right, our education system are still very traditional. Like, we don't have so many international schools there. So I believe in the future, in relation to education, I believe we can have like collaborations with international foreign universities. So if we have the opportunities to go abroad and studies, I think it's really, really wonderful. And also, pertaining to global citizens, our theme this year, right? I would like to share that being a global citizen means you need to be able to give back to the communities as well. So during my stay in KPMG Singapore, I've been given an opportunity to lead some of their CSR events, both locally and also overseas. So using these opportunities, it's really give me a better vision of what's going on in other countries, like how we see the problems and how it can impact in our community as well. For example, in China, right, I know that they do have some problems, like because of the one-child policy. So the population's getting smaller, and then nowadays they use technology to help them to help in the manufacturing business or any kind of businesses. But this technology, it might impact different way in other countries. For example, like if you can see in the future, right, this technology, it will replace humans with machines. So there will be a lot of people who lost their jobs because of this new era of digitalizations, of this new technology. But I believe technology also plays a very big role in our world, especially in education sector, because using technology, like a lot of people from around the globe, they can study, like you don't need to be physically attend the university, but you can graduate by taking the online courses. And technology brings us all closer together, like this conference, right? So before we meet each other, we all connected through emails, like video calls, and it's really wonderful how technology emerged in this global world.
I'm really glad that you brought that forward, because for my experience as well, I remember when I first came to Canada, the education system in India is really different. We do not use a lot of technology in classrooms, and social media is not something my parents were very fond of. Not even my friends. Like I had a Facebook account that my parents didn't know about, and I had to keep it that way for as long as I could. But I remember when I first came to Canada, it was promoted, it was encouraged. They were like, you should have Instagram, you should have Snapchat, so you can, you can get the updates about the events, join clubs and whatnot. So it was really nice for me, because I was like, wow, I get to do all this now, and my parents are going to be okay with it. But it's amazing how technology has, it has changed for me as well, considering we're still the new world people, and we've always had internet and technology, but the way it was used. And recently, I'm working with FIC part-time, and we started a new initiative where there's an Instagram takeover. So students can volunteer to take over the Instagram page for FIC, and they use that to share their journey or share their day and what campus they're going to. And it's really nice to me, because I feel like prospective students will be able to connect to that so much better, because they can actually see a different student's life and what's happening and what they're getting into. And I think sometimes that's better, because they're intimidated to maybe talk to the advisors directly. So that's just great. And I think for me also, to be able to use the library just on your laptop and all those things, as an international student, those things were really new to me. And I feel like as students, sometimes we take it for granted how much technology we use. I mean, everybody here, I'm sure, has Instagram or one or the other social media sites, except for Tom, or except for somebody who's on a social media detox, which did not work for me. So I feel like everybody uses social media, and the impact that it has on just us as students and teachers is great. I mean, most of the times when I don't get emails, I get to know about the events happening through Instagram or Snapchat. And the way we're using technology for this conference itself is just great. And it's just bringing us all together. And also as international students, I think, I found it really nice that I was able to stay in touch with my parents and my siblings, despite the fact that they're all in different countries. It's so much easier, and it brings us all together. And of course, it has two sides. It's good and bad. And the way we use it, it's like the power is in our hands. But thank you for bringing the point of technology up. And Nneoma, what are your, I actually know that the video that you shared, the commencement video, the speech that you shared, it got around 1 million views. And I think that's just amazing. And how did you go about that? Were you expecting that? How was that for you?
So never in a million years would I have guessed that I would get 1 million views, right? But to date, that is what technology has done for us. It connects us in ways that we would have never thought to be connected. And it's very interesting, because now my voice is being able to be heard all over the world, right? And I have people even responding back to me in Arabic, and I don't speak Arabic, but somehow, they've been able to translate my message, and it's been impactful for them. And then I actually was up last night thinking, why was this so impactful? Why did so many people care about my message? And I played my message again to myself, and I said, wow, I was talking a lot about my obstacles and my challenges being a Black female engineer. And the thing is, we all have those challenges, right? Look to the person next to you. They have their challenges, whatever it may be. But, I was just talking a lot about believing in yourself and having this I can mentality. I can do it. I can be here in the United States, and I can succeed. So that message sort of resonated with a lot of people, because different people have their own issues, be it health, finance, relationships, whatever it is. But yeah, technology it's been able to connect us in ways that I would have never thought. I met my Navitas recruiter via technology, and I didn't get to see them till a year after, and I still went through Navitas. Majority of us here, you guys connect via email, and you're familiar with yourself via email, but you've never even seen yourselves till you all met here. And this is all through technology. Even if you take it outside the digital age and talking about social media, you begin to talk about things like CRISPR, AI, like all of these things that can answer our global issues. They've all come about through technology, but then what do we do with this technology, right? Because the same technology that connects us is the technology that can isolate us. So then what do we do? I feel like we need to, as global citizens, make sure we strike a balance with whatever we're doing, right? Technology is good, it's great, it's fun, it's exciting, but how do we strike that balance? And something I want to talk about is this African philosophy. It's called UBUNTU. If you've ever been to global citizen conferences, you might be familiar with it. Nelson Mandela uses it in his speech. Cardinal Desmond Tutu has used it a lot. But it's this African philosophy that believes in humanity for all. It says, I am who I am because you are who you are, and because of that, we all are. So whatever we are doing, whatever our skills are, whatever our intellect is, whatever our abilities, our resources, our finances, we're all using it to promote this unity and this interdependentness, and whatever we're doing, we're putting it back towards humanity. And I feel like if you have that in your core foundation, then you're on the right track, because, so we all love chocolate, or some people don't, but a lot of us love chocolate. And there's nothing wrong with chocolate. The problem becomes when you don't think about the cocoa farmer and you begin to exploit them, right? That's when we start having issues. But there's nothing wrong with uplifting yourself and using this technology as far as you're using it for a balance. We talk a lot about people having mental health issues and different things like that, social media bullying. As far as we're just aware of this and making sure we're mitigating all of these issues that some of your international and global citizens are going through today, I feel like we're on a very good path. And before I go, one thing I want to sort of cap on is that we have an arsenal, right? This technology, it's been doing things for us that we never would have thought. Now people are flying in the air, right? 100, 200 years from that, now none of us would have thought that we could all fly 24, 18 hours, however long it took you to get here. But now we're doing those things. So we have the technology to answer these global issues. We have what it takes, but then how are we using it? How are you using it to connect with your students? And how are your students using it to connect with each other? And are we active in making sure that it's being used properly is the question I would like to pose for all of us. Because I do think that with technology, we can answer those problems. We do have the solution and we do have what it takes, but are we really ready to do what needs to be done to make sure that technology is used properly in today's world?
I am just having a moment right now, an empowering moment myself, because we're 3 women from different cultures sitting here talking about this amazing topic. So I'm so glad we got this opportunity. And I know that Dylan mentioned that you guys can post questions if you have for us. So if there are any questions that are there, we can take them now. And we can go on talking about this topic, I feel, all day, because So our first question is, oh, it's for me. Sorry, I'm going to have to stand up to read that. Amanat, when you left Amritsar to study at FIC, did you have any idea what is a global citizen? What was the real reason you chose to study in Canada, SFU, FIC, and when did you realize you had turned into a global citizen? Thanks, Ganga, for the question. It's an amazing one. And I think, like I mentioned earlier, I don't think I thought very globally when I first came to Canada. And saying that now, I feel kind of bad. But I also feel good because of how much I have improved and how far I've come. Because now when I got to know that this is the topic, And the last conference was great. I really enjoyed it. But this conference, I was super pumped because I was like, this is our topic. This is what we should be talking about right now. And I totally believe that now my definition of what a global citizen is has evolved. And I see myself as a global citizen because I think with all the skills that I have gotten and all the awareness I have achieved over the last 4 years, I can go into a new country, I can go get a job or go and do my master's and be prepared for it. As a global citizen, I can connect with other people and enjoy that and appreciate that. We're all three of us here have different journeys, have different upbringings, but we could connect in less than a day. And I think that's because we are the global citizens and we understand the journey we've gone through. And never, when I came from Amritsar to Canada, I had any idea how this journey is going to evolve or what it's going to get. I never thought I would be sitting here in front of such an amazing audience. So I think where I've come, I'm really proud of that, but a lot of it has to do with the education I received and the opportunities I got, and I'm really grateful for that. Thanks. Do we have another question? Nneoma, how would you recommend that we use technology to engage with prospective female students to encourage them to study STEM-related subjects?
How would I encourage that we use technology to engage the female population to study more STEM? So being a Black female engineer, this has always been my goal, and just to put it out there, if you haven't yet seen my speech, please reach out to me after this conference. I'll be glad to share it with you because I talk a lot about that. When I was younger and I've always wanted to be this engineer, I was actually told by my loved ones and my family that I should not study engineering. I should go into education and do what my mom did. And even though my dad was an engineer himself, he didn't necessarily understand where I was coming from, wanting to be a female engineer. He felt that the world would not be responsive to me, whereas, the world has changed, right? Now we're all globalizing. Now we're empowering women all over. The idea has changed. It's not what it used to be before. So my advice to any female student who's trying to study STEM is shoot for the stars and do what it is that you need to get done. Don't let people who are around you sort of influence you negatively. I think for me what helped was success stories. So reading about other females who had done it, just if there's someone who is in the same field, just having them talk to that person. Having a mentor is very important. I have 5 or 6 different mentors. So talking to someone who has gone through a similar experience is very good because then you build a support system. In my bio, they talked about different engineering organizations that I was a part of. I'm now very active in Women in Engineers because this is where we as women can talk with each other and then build this relationship and know that it can be done and the world is going to accept us even if we choose to study STEM. But yeah, is there any other question?
What do you wish your universities had done to better prepare you for the world you face today? Jessica, would you like to take a lead on this one?
Okay, I think, in the perspective of international students, I think what can universities done to us is maybe to build more clubs so that a lot of international students who feel that, okay, I'm coming to a new country, I don't have any friends. I think it's good if the universities prepare this, perhaps maybe learning other language clubs, something like that. Or maybe we can have an event to charity event where we get together and then have a fun time together, no matter where all we come from, and then we persuade the students to join at least maybe 2 or 3 clubs, and they are able to blend with others so they don't feel like they are the minority or anything. They will feel more welcomed. I think that's the most important thing. And also maybe related to technology-wise, I know that some of the universities they have prepared more digitalized it's not like a traditional settings anymore. So they make like the presentations all in a new like audiovisual room. I think it's really engaged the students to learn like there will be more interesting stuff to learn aside from like the aside from the subjects itself. Like you can have like the social entrepreneurial skill subjects in the school outside of the curriculum, and it can engage more people to like to hone their skills, yeah, their soft skills especially, because like when you enter the workforce, right, like you don't need like those like those traditional curriculum, that you need to be able to connect with the person, like to be able to talk with other people. I think that's the most important skills in the work life, right?
Just to pick up on what Jessica was saying and refer back to a presentation that was done, I think it was yesterday, the professor on stage was talking about being career ready. And that's something I feel like a lot of our institutions, we don't prepare our students for. You teach us, the math and the calculus and the music and all of that. But most universities, they don't prepare you to be career ready, right? There's a bit of interviews and there may be a career fair, but how many of your students are using that? A lot of my international friends, I tell them, oh, did you ever go to get your resume checked? And they're just like, oh, what is that? Like, they have no idea, right? No one told them. And, the American students, they're very familiar with these things, but then, my friends in Nigeria, not all of them have resumes, and when I look at their resumes, it's not up to par with what other people are doing. So I feel like trying to make sure that our students, especially the international students, are career ready, because it is a challenge in the Americas. I can speak for getting a job as an international student is very challenging. So just making sure that they have all those different resources, they know how to talk to the interviewers, they know what jobs are out there other than the mainstream jobs, because there are jobs in different sectors. So I feel like that's something that universities should take more actions towards.
Great.
All right, so I think we're going to take one more question, and that'll be it.
You're an incredible panel, ladies. Thank you. Thanks for sharing your insights. Interestingly, while we're talking global citizenship, at least two of you are planned to return to your local community. It would be great if you could reflect on how a global mindset can be applied at home. I actually plan to stay in Canada as of now. But if I was to go back to India, honestly, I wanted to, but my parents are like, we've made lots of investment in you. Can you please stay there for a bit? But I think as a global citizen, I feel ready to not just work in Canada, but anywhere in the world, even if it was to go back to India. And I think for the mindset, I feel that the whole world right now is evolving and is moving towards the concept of globalization and of doing better, whether it's in school, high school, or in universities and at work. So I think as a mindset, I've prepared myself through the different co-ops and internships I have done and the different transitions I've gone through in university life, that I feel I'm ready to work anywhere in the world, whether it's India or Canada or anywhere else. But I think you can answer this question better considering.
So I am one of those who does plan to return back home to my country, Nigeria, and try to do the best that I can possibly do. But as to preparing people to have a global mindset, it is very difficult. In my case, again, a third world country, how do you spark this conversation? But then I'll refer back to something we talked about earlier, right? We're talking about making people global citizens. So I feel like just having these conversations, having these different conversations with people and getting them to understand that is very good, but then bring it back to Ubuntu, right? We're doing this all for humanity. And I feel like once we can stand behind something, global citizenship, it's a movement. And so when people have a movement, then that is something that we can all stand beside or behind, regardless of the different religions that may be happening in your local country or the different cultures that you may have, we can all stand behind humanity. So I feel like that is a good way to start, and then from there we can have a ripple effect and go through.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
I think that's it. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Oh, sorry.
there's
Looks
a
like we got
comment.
one more question.
Thank you
just
for
thrown
all
out.
your thoughts and
Oh,
insights. As a college director, I'm inspired by your collective capability and confidence. Please, can you all come and be the next UK government?
Perfect.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right. Again, thanks so much to our great panelists and ambassadors.